Hi there, I am the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I'm offering this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. It's titled, Words Matter. They can create or destroy life. I am sure we've all said something we've instantly regretted at once in our lives, maybe many times. I have several times in the last couple of weeks, actually. I have not always been able to practice restraint of pen and tongue, a phrase I think that needs extending in our current age to include fingers and thumb. How often have we regretted something we've posted on social media or through a text message or WhatsApp or something? Usually people are understanding enough and do forgive, but not always. Sometimes that forgiveness can take quite a long time. Some never forgive, they cannot forget. I recently met someone who fell out with me many, many years ago due to some careless words I said publicly. Not about them personally, but it hurt them. For several years, they've been quite frosty towards me when I've met them in public settings. Well, it seems that's no longer the case, thank God. All was well the last time we met each other in a public place, and you know what? We got on really well. I approached and we hugged and we talked, and it was lovely. Time does heal, it seems, as long as there's good intent. Careless words have been on my mind recently, mainly because I've been pulled up by several people on occasions due to something I said in person or something I posted on social media. Although it is interesting that the very things that some have found difficult, many others have. I got mainly positive responses about, but one or two people were either hurt or confused by what I said or posted. It happened a couple of weeks ago when I was away at summer school. And I listened to what the person said, of course, and I listened intently, actually. They felt hurt or they took on board something that I'd said that was understood in a way that actually it wasn't what I intended, but that's not the point. That's not, they heard it in such a way and it caused pain. Happened last week about something I said in response to a friend's comment, to something I posted on social media again. Through conversation, it was better understood. And actually, I was a little careless. I was a bit emotional when I posted what I did. But I took on board what they said. I apologised for the hurt caused and reflected that perhaps I could have been more skillful. I know last week I was affected by the funerals of two friends who died in tragic circumstances and some family situations too. So I was quite emotional and I think it came out in my interactions with others. I hope I've learnt from this. Thankfully, people do understand, and most importantly, they love me enough to say something. Thankfully, I was able to listen and to respond and take on board what they said. There was a lot of truth in it. Mostly, though, I do practice restraint of pen and tongue, fingers and thumb these days. And when I fail to do so, I tend not to get too defensive and can admit and do what I can to put things right, to reconcile, to amend the mistake, to put right what was wrong. I have enough faith in life to be able to do this. I've come to believe this is a sign of spiritual maturity, actually. The spiritual immature cannot admit fault. They cannot appear weak and they cannot lose face. We see examples of this constantly. Seeing it this week, I think, actually, particularly in public figures. These days, to admit wrong and to not take responsibility, I think, it seems to be a sign of weakness. And so often people look for someone else to blame. They can't admit fault and put right what was wrong, therefore being right again. They don't appear to be right enough in themselves to be wrong about small things. It's a sign of spiritual immaturity, I would say. Now, we live in a world today where we are constantly got bombarded by all kinds of opinion from so many sources of media. It comes to us from all directions, not just the radio, television, and newspapers, it seems, but many, many forms of social media too. But not only are we bombarded by news outlets, we're also bombarded by the opinions of so many. I think we could do well, all of us, including myself, of course, to practice a little bit more restraint of pen and tongue and finger and thumb, and really discern what we say to others. Because especially in that format, it can really be like a dagger to the heart or a bullet to the head. There is so little filter, and it can feel very direct, and people do get hurt. It matters what we say and how we say it, actually. It ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it, they say, but actually it is what you do and what you say. But it's also the way that you say and do it too. That does matter. I've experienced some lovely examples of kind words, both spoken and responded to this week. I saw one on Monday, actually. It was rather lovely. I saw something beautiful on social media. It had been used in such a lovely way. A friend posted on a local Facebook page that she'd been out in Altrincham that day and had lost her favourite cardigan. Cardigan that means so much to her, actually, sentimentally. It's her favourite thing. And you know what? There were some lovely responses by people from the area, people that have got to know my friend through her social media activity. But it wasn't just that they offered kindness. The cardigan was actually found. And on Tuesday morning, I saw her pick up that very same cardigan from the portable coffee shop, I forget its name, situated just below Altrincham Market. It made my friend's day, and in many ways has inspired my thoughts for this week. It planted a seed in my mind, a beautiful seed. It was a lovely example, actually, of gossip in gossip's positive sense. It incarnated this kind of spoken love, really. Word of my friend's loss spread and people responded to this loss. It was lovely to see the positive energy that spread from this. It was wonderful to witness, actually. Just lovely. Words being used, being spread in a loving way, becoming flesh and dwelling amongst us, if you like, incarnating love from the word. I've also heard several eulogies these last few days, difficult ones to write and to deliver. There was a lot of emotion at the several funerals I've either conducted or been present at. The eulogies were beautiful, and a eulogy should be beautiful, for after all, a eulogy means offering words of high praise for the deceased. You speak the good words about them. That's a eulogy. I was offered some rather lovely words of kindness from friends and from the dog room and myself on Tuesday. Molly had gotten into a bit of her mess, her coat had at least. It happened while I was away, and it just got out of hand. It was so bad that she had to have her beautiful coat shaved off. The groomer could see how upset with myself and disappointed with myself I was. Now, while offering advice as to what I ought to do, how to better take care of Molly's incredible coat, which has thickened up so much, she did it in a kind and supportive way, as did some friends. Yes, I got a few jokes, but actually most people were rather loving and supportive. And you know what? Molly doesn't seem to mind. She's had a rather lovely time in the park. In some ways, it's been advantageous as in this heat we've had this week to be running around really free, and she seems so happy. But she does look a little different. People were very kind, particularly the groomer. You know, the words that we speak and how we speak them or post them on social media can be very, very powerful. The old cliche, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names or words will never hurt me, is just utter nonsense. It's just not true. The words we speak, whether from our mouths or through social media, can have a powerful impact. That said, it isn't just what we say that matters, but how and in what we spirit. It's the way that we do it, actually, just as much as what we do. I have come to believe but the words we speak are actually expressions of our spirit and where we are at spiritually. I was spiritually fatigued and careless words came out of me. They express whether we are part of the creation or the destruction of life. Words do become flesh, they do dwell amongst us. But no one does things perfectly. Let's be careful about that too. We can put right, we just need to acknowledge where we fall short, as everybody will, because everybody will always be human. Yehuda Berg, an author of Kabbalah, a mystical form of Judaism, has said this about words. Words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement or destructively using words of despair. Words of energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. Your words are very powerful. What we say and how we say them have real power. We affect people and life just as we affect ourselves with our words, just as we are affected by the words of others. So are we speaking creatively as part of the creation of life or destructively as part of the destruction of life? Or as Proverbs 18 verse 12 puts it, written words I know, but these are words spoken too. Rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. And Gary Chapman, in his book Love as a Way of Life, uses a similar metaphor for words as being either bullets or seeds. When we use words as bullets or like sword thrusts, we are playing a part in the destruction of life. We are building barriers of separation and or exclusion. Whereas if we speak from wisdom, if we speak from love, we become part of the creative process. We are part of the love becoming flesh. We are building bridges of healing and restoration. We are holding out our hands in an inclusive, an embracing, and a loving way. Be careful what you say and how you say it, in what spirit you do this, for what you say and how you say it will play a part in the creation or the destruction of life. It matters what you say and in what spirit you say what you say. It matters how we speak about others and how we listen to what others say to us about other people. Malicious gossip can be very destructive. That said, sharing concern for others and singing their praises can add to the loving creation. My friend's experience with her lost cardigan is a wonderful example of what you might call healthy gossip, both in the sharing of the loss, but also the celebration in being what was lost being found. We need to spread more good news and not just the bad news. It's so easily spread. Bad news seems to spread fast. Good news, though, can. We just need to pay more attention to it. I recently spent some time with some of my family. Gosh, I wish I had more time. And family, of course, is a place for gossip. We connect by telling our stories of each other, keeping up to date with varied members of the family. The stories are not just of the past, they're stories of the present too. Family members gossip about each other. Now, such gossiping can be hurtful and diminishing, of course it can. I'm sure we've all had bad experience of this in our lives. That said, healthy gossip is shared too. And this kind of loving, healthy gossip is far closer to the word gossip in its original meaning. The word gossip is derived from words for God and sibling. So when your siblings get together and talk about one another, they're gossiping, literally. It originally meant kind of being akin to God. The word originally described a person that you were connected to in spiritual kinship, either a sponsor, a guide, or a god parent, another form of guide. So gossip originally meant to guide a person in a godly, loving way. So when we share such stories now, we are connecting people through shared concern. Sadly, though, gossip these days almost always means the exact opposite of its original meaning. How often language does this? It kind of turns itself around through the centuries. Gossip today seems more akin to separation than it does to connection. It's not speaking in a godly way, is it? Quite the opposite, sadly. But that's what it originally meant. Think about the word gossip. All speech, of course, should be part of the connection and shared concern, and not of the separation and destruction. How we speak about one another and to one another is so very important. Are we a part of the creation or the destruction of life? And that's why, of course, that right speech is so central to the great religious traditions, particularly Christianity. Is very obviously at the core of Christianity, or the teachings of true Christianity and Buddhism too. Doesn't mean that people practice it. In fact, quite often they don't. But it's there. In Buddhism, Samavaka is the third aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. In Buddhism, it is basically abstinence from malicious gossip, slander, lying, and hate speech. So to speak wisely or rightly is to do so truthfully with kindness, purpose, and meaning. It's central to the Buddhist tradition. And there are many passages that you'll find in both the Old and the New Testament that refer to right speech. Preachers in the Christian tradition often, or certainly have in the past, offer the following words from the 19th Psalm before they will preach a sermon. Let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God. In the New Testament, the book of James makes reference to how a person should use their mouth. With it we bless God, and with it we curse those who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. It's key. The Sufi, Christian and Buddhist traditions, as well as other ancient and contemporary traditions too, say very similar things about how we ought to conduct ourselves with our brothers and our sisters. They are saying how damaging wrong speech can be both to our neighbours and, of course, to ourselves. You kind of sense that the essence of the golden rule of compassion, which is at the heart of all the great faiths, in the way that they teach about right speech, about how we should speak about and to one another. But somehow that's got lost, as religion has become almost a curse, not a blessing, sadly. Somehow the heart's been lost, and people speak terribly from those traditions at times. But it's there at the core. We've just lost heart, I guess. How we communicate is so important. We may not have control over what goes on in the world all around us, but how we act towards others does really matter. We need to be mindful in how we speak, because what we say and do and what we do not say and do not do has an impact on all of those around us. As the old saying goes, if you haven't got anything good to say, then it's probably best just to not say anything, to keep your mouth shut. As they would say probably where I'm from, shut the gob. Words have the power to cause the utmost damage. That said, they also have the power to heal. A word rightly spoken, can heal deep wounds. It can reconcile former enemies and save countless souls. It is amazing how a few words of kindness can lead to this tidal wave of compassion and love. Another example of what I call the chaos theory of compassion, like that butterfly that causes a hurricane or whatever. A few words can lead to something so beautiful and wonderful, as I saw on Monday with my friend's cardigan, really. I've seen it several times these last few days. The key, I think, is to give words their proper respect. They say a person ought to be judged by their deeds and not their words. But words are the beginning of deeds. They're the seeds that we plant. The action of our pens, our tongues, our fingers and our thumbs have a powerful and lasting impact on those that we come into contact with. They can be a part of the creation, or they can be a part of the destruction of life. You see, everything matters. Every thought, every feeling, every action, every word spoken, typed or written. What we say and how we say it is not the only power at work, of course it's not. But never, ever let anyone tell you it doesn't matter. Things matter so much. You have no idea the power that you are involved in with the words that you speak. Your next sentence may be the beginning of something beautiful in the life of another. It may well play a part in changing or giving life to someone. Or on the other hand, it may aid in their destruction. So choose your words carefully. Ensure that they are spoken in the spirit of love as part of the creation and not the destruction of life. Amen. And I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. You know we need to bless more. Bless with our presence. We can all bless. Everyone blesses. We bless by giving ourselves wholeheartedly to life. Maybe it begins with our words. Well, it probably begins deeper than that. But the first action is what comes from our mouths, perhaps. So some final words of blessing. May the love that we have known through our days, may that love be alive in our hearts, in our being, and may we carry that love with us, that vision of what can be as we step back into the world. May the divine love shine bright from our very being, and may we carry this spirit with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, and in all that we do. Amen, and blessed be.